jacked and relaxed.
Jacked and relaxed. Yeah, definitely jacked up on coffee. We're back on a Discman lifestyle, which I didn't think we'd go back to since the 90s, but we have new discs that we keep around.
I am a disc man.
You're a Discman now.
Yeah.
You know?
This
It's a Walkman. You're walking your discs.
I'm sorry I don't remember who, but thank you to whoever recommended this.
Yeah.
It's like a little holster for cartridges for our portable vapes.
Yeah, for ground up weed.
Yeah, game changer. And plus now I get to be a disc man.
Yeah, you know. New ways to organize and thrive.
Yeah, definitely.
You love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm here with Mare down on the Lower East Side, Devil's Corner.
Yeah.
Devil's Playground.
Yeah.
I'm up here in the Devil's Playground.
It certainly is. Yeah, it's so fun to have you down here.
Yeah, you're dressed like a schoolgirl for right in time for back to school time.
Yeah, you know I love being of the season.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, I let my moods as well with my fashion change with the season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't seen you in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, it's quite the reunion. You've been up in Maine.
Yeah. Tending to my services.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been doing the damn thing, tending to my services.
Yeah.
On the Devil's Corner.
And
Back-
my training.
Back
You know
in
that.
Satan's arms. Yeah, and your training. And I do my own training at the gym.
Your training probably blows mine away
It
tenfold.
definitely does.
I love talking about my training, but it's really like a 5-mile run and some pull-ups and push-ups. You know.
Yeah. I will say today I was like, I need to up my ante with training because there's a couple of girls at the gym whose bodies I'm like, I kind of envy, you know, I'm like, that's definitely goals. No, just
How is this possible?
they're just like, they're so stacked and because they're pushing 100 more pounds than I am.
Holy
And, you know, I already pushed like a lot
shit.
of weight around.
Wow.
Yeah. And they're like, you know,
They're pushing 100 more than you, though?
that's why I'm like, I got to fucking step my game up.
And what's that do? It just makes you a big booty Judy?
Yeah, just stacking weight, you know what I mean?
Wow.
Yeah, you got to eat a little more and, yeah.
Well,
stack the weights
that's
up.
my whole thing. That's why I'm hitting my threshold, I think, because I'm like, I don't want to have to go scavenger more food in my life to try to for appearances. Like, I'm good. I'm a well-oiled machine right now.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
But
come
you
on.
know, I have a lot of fire in that realm of like editing aesthetics, so
Mm-hmm.
it's easier
We're-
for me to get on those trains of
we're-
like, oh, it
and-
could be better. Where am
Yeah.
I going to put my effort, you know?
Yeah, no, I'm the same fucking way.
Yeah.
Which is why I have to be like very selective as to what I point my attention to, because
Yes.
it's not just going to be a little walk in the park,
No,
hobbyist enthusiast level type of thing.
no,
Unless I'm dominating in some way, I don't even want to fucking go near it. You know?
definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. After my yin sojourn of those couple of years, I was almost a little bit scared of my masculine energy because I've let it run wild before,
Yeah.
you know, where there is no stopping.
Well, you've let the
There-
feminine energy run wild too.
That's what, like, yeah, over the past couple of years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. Why do you say that though? Describe the like paint a picture for people what that means.
Yeah. Well,
You met us fools.
just that feeling of overcoming the feminine when you don't want to do stuff, you know, like before when I was a dancer, like just the amount of abuse that I put my body through because there was no receiving energy. There was no yin. There was no like, you should honor your feelings. It was just like, do as much as possible.
Eating disorders are made of that too.
Yeah. And yeah, I had an eating disorder for 10 years. So
Yeah.
yeah. Virgo bullshit. And I will say Virgo season always kind of sucks for me. Like you think it's going to be great because it's my birthday, but I already have Virgo energy. And once you have, you don't need more Virgo energy.
I was
you know, it's
wondering
one of those
that.
energies you just want maybe a little bit of,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
a touch. We do rule the house of bad fortune. So, you know,
Then what the fuck is that supposed to mean?
I probably shouldn't get into dignity on the podcast. People don't like it.
The house of bad fortune?
But the reason why astrology isn't astronomy anymore is because Christians came in and they didn't like this deterministic aspect of astrology that philosophers were sort of attaching with language and
Yeah.
whatever. And you can understand that as living in like the 21st century. We have a bit, you know, will is our God.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you present something to people that there's a limitation within that or what, like,
Yeah.
it's almost human instinct to want to deny it and not look at it or whatever. But
Yeah.
also, like, if you think you're free in a human body, like, I don't know what to tell you.
I know.
You know, like you are stuck in a lot of ways, and astrology is just trying to help you understand the ways you're stuck.
That's a really good way of putting it.
Yeah.
You're fucking killing it at the astrology game these days.
I'm loving it.
Yeah. What changed? Because I remember when we first met, we were like, Mare, you owe it to the world to do this. And you're like, I'm not an astrologer. And I'm like, what?
It felt like it's funny because it was during the beginning of my Saturn return where I was going through all this, like, I don't deserve the amount of responsibility that my life is asking me to have. And I felt like very impactful in those situations when I was talking to people, and sometimes didn't feel like I had the disassociative chops to be able to just show up however people need me to show up. You know, it was maybe still more mixed in with like my own personal emotions. And now I feel like I'm really in the place where like I drop out.
Yeah.
I drop out and I drop into people's spirit guides for real, and I just start channeling information for them, you know? Like I got off those calls, I'm like, damn.
Yeah.
Y'all know a lot about this person, you know?
Yeah.
So it's been so fun for me to do more air play and less earth play. So like fulfilling, and everybody's been so sweet, and it's, you know, never endingly interesting to me to study the transits and what's going on with different people during the same time. And the collective transits are always like the loudest things, and that's why we, you know, when we talk to each other, it does feel like, oh, we're on like the same journey, but it's parallel, you know, maybe in different areas of our life.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been so fun.
Yeah, you've been fucking. You should have like an existential crisis hotline. You saved my life the other day when I was driving down here from Maine. I was fucking losing my mind, you know, and so lost in the sauce. Like, what, paranoid?
Yeah. Well, and I knew this period for you was going to be really hard. He has just like a really hard transit during this. And I knew it was going to be hard for me too. But for you specifically, because you already have Mars in Gemini, and Mars is going to be in Gemini. But there's I'm still navigating what's appropriate to tell people. Yeah. And like what angle to take. Because like, I'm not trying to be a doomsday witch for you all the time and be like, it's just going to suck for 7 months, Sean. So put up with it. You know what I mean? Like, I want us to ride the highest frequency of everything.
With that. You can tell. I can handle that shit. Like,
but yeah, sometimes there are just times we have to channel more fire or more air or more of the elements that are present at the time. And I don't know about y'all, but this Mercury season has been like so frantic. Like I'm so overwhelmed. In Leo season, I felt invincible.
Yeah, me too. I felt like I was on Molly the whole time.
The whole time. I was on top of the world. Nobody could get me down. And my life is set up in a way, is set up for an invincible person. I'll just say I have very few realms that I play in where if I don't have that full embodiment, I don't fail, you know?
Yeah.
And Virgo season comes around, and all of a sudden, like, I'm not just not invincible, I'm like nothing and nobody.
Back
and
to school.
Yeah. Like I already have that Virgo perfectionist stuff, and then it gets to double critical season, and it's just like, what do I have to offer?
Yeah.
This whole Virgo season.
It's such a cruel joke that like the double critical season comes on like a hungover morning right after Leo season.
Yeah.
Where you were just wiling out and everybody's bright and just showing off and shit. And then you get like this like, oh fuck. Like really what back to school feels like.
Totally.
Like, oh yeah, that. Oh my God. Real life. Fucking shit.
Yeah, and the zodiacs are corrective, kind of like that. Like, you know, you think think it would be like a smooth transition because it's kind of, you know, goes in a line or whatever, but they are kind of corrective like that. Like you have this super sexual, playful energy of Leo that's like very flamboyant and fleeting, and then Virgo is corrective. You know, it's like the opposite to that. You know, super prude and, you know, all the opposite of those things.
Yeah.
But then, you know, Libra season comes around, almost feels opposite to Virgo too. It's so, you know, Venus ruled, and now you don't care that much, you know, because you have the disassociative element of air, and
that's when people find their lovers.
That's when people find their lovers.
They get into cuddle boy season together.
Cuddle boy season, you know.
It's cozy boy time. You know, and that's when people find their lovers, though.
Yeah, and then we get to the underworld. You know, Scorpio and Virgo are both connected by the underworld again after Libra. Corrective, you know. Now we're going to go to the deepest, darkest, most heaviest depths from Libra, which is like light, airy, aesthetic. Who cares? Energy, you know.
Damn. Then what?
Then we go into Sag.
That's my time.
It's your time.
That's when it's good to just fucking yell at, scream at people. Act like a damn maniac. Double down on being a damn maniac.
Yeah, you're a forest fire. I like somebody, I heard one of my favorite, like a couple of astrologers talking about the different elements, and that Aries cardinal fire being a match. And I think that's a really good description of like Aries energy. Sagittarius being a forest fire. It's definitely how you feel sometimes.
And
then
necessary to the environment, keeping up its thing.
cleaning everything, purifying it, giving it life for a new generation. And then Leo the bonfire, obviously, which we know is very true in a lot of different funny ways.
Fucking crazy.
So crazy. But yeah, the Sagittarius, I was thinking about that. It's funny because like if I try and whittle down like a Sagittarius wiling out, like it's always the same thing, and it's always in the house of righteousness. Like, be more aligned to your spiritual values. Like, why are you not being high frequency? Why are you not, being righteous in the things that you say you value? That's all you ever yell about. When you're getting yelled at Sagittarius, it's never, it's not like a Virgo being mean to you who'll just be like, you'll never be an artist. It's different. Like Sagittarius actually has like a nice.
It's a pep talk.
Objective.
It's serious because, and even when you just said that, I was like, I'm only talking to myself when I do that shit. I'm literally yelling at myself.
Yeah, but you're yelling at me too, and like it's like you don't know it, and you've known it at some moments in time. It's like my guide's coming through you. Like you'll be like, wasn't even saying that, and it is like that sometimes. Like Saturn needs to yell at me, and you're my Saturnian figure in my life, and so that's how it comes out. It's like word, like
wow, and likewise, what I get from you.
Oh yeah. Well, I have a Cancer moon, so. I was trying to think about how to describe the water elements because Cass was asking me about that. Okay, if that's like the fire, how do you do the water? And Pisces seems like it's got to be the ocean. Scorpio is fixed water, so like streams, rivers, one direction. And then Cancer being cardinal water, the only thing that I could feel like was like poetic to it was a tear, because that's like a match of water. Like when else does water spontaneously exists kind of, out of nowhere.
Wow.
It's like tears,
Yeah.
And I always cry all the time.
Tears of a
my
clown.
Specialty. Besides my always weeping eye because of my surgery or whatever, I do,
Oh, that's cool.
I do get.
That sounds like a Ween lyric with always weeping eye.
But yeah, Cancer energy's wild too. I mean, like, I got claws and I got a hard shell, and I'm like the softest person ever until I need to use it. So
I have such a hard shell, and I'm so used to it, I don't even know. And then like you'll give me perspective in these moments when I'm having breakdowns. I'm like, what the fuck? You're like, you're like an intimidating person. You're like, I'm intimidated by you. Like, wait, what? And it just fucking blows my mind. I'm like, it just blows the lid off the whole thing.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
Like, whoa, wait, where's that coming from? I'm never trying to intimidate you.
Yeah.
I'm trying to soften always, but I guess it's just fucking inherent to the thing.
Yeah, but I think of you more as a Sag because you were born at night. And I think of myself more as a Cancer than a Virgo. And I feel like you'd probably say that about me too.
Yeah, totally. We know more classic Virgos than you.
Yeah, like I'm a pretty classic Cancer, like super emotionally driven. I just want to like make music in my room. Like I'm, pretty much your perfect expression of Cancer. And you're like the masculine Sag to me is like how you present and how you come off. And that's how you're processing everything. So.
I'm sorry about everything.
No, it's the best. My favorite.
I'm sorry about everything I've ever done.
My North Node's in Sag, so you're like part of your, part of our karma is you're helping me fulfill my destiny in some way.
It's wild because like I've been with Cass for so long, and when I get into that mode, she just like, has a very defensive part of her.
Yeah.
So a lot of it gets shut down. So there's like this dam of fucking, this like reservoir of passion that I want to get through, and she's just like, no. And I'm like, okay. And like I start doing it with you, and you don't stop me really, So it's so wild. I'll take it so much further than I ever have with anyone before, because you're like you're listening to me. Like I'm ranting and raving, and I can feel it. I hear myself, and then I'm like, but she's sitting here listening to me and like responding and like, or not responding and just listening. And I'm like, man, it takes it so much further. It takes me so much further into the depths of that fucking Sag energy I have.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I was just thinking about Cancer and our need to like go into the deepest of feeling something too, and that's like how we're exploring the universe, and that's I think how artists generally, you could describe an artist as somebody like really prioritizing feeling, above thinking, above these other things that we're asked to prioritize in life. And you and I are definitely that way. Like we want to go, we know we have to go all the way in and through it. We don't have this like disassociative hatch that some people have, where it's just like, oh, just not. No, it's like, all right, like, I guess we have to go travel to Pluto to go excavate this, you know?
Yeah.
And I have more, it's like I have more disassociation than you. I have this more like leaving thing, you know, like in the moment. And I think it's just because it pissed my mom off the most that I didn't fight her growing up. Like that was my tactic, was like,
Yeah.
even though I care more than anybody, it's like I'm going to pretend like I don't. It's
Yeah.
like the Cancer hard shell, you know, it's too much feeling.
Yeah, no, I know. It's you love hanging up on me and you're walking out the door and this and that, like that kind of stuff. And to the point where I'm like, Mare, if we're going to get anywhere, like, like that can't, like, because like my trigger is like abandonment. And I'm like, you know, I'm like, what are we doing to each other right now? Like, we're fighting with our parents through each other. This is insane.
I know. I haven't done it in a while, though.
No, I think I've been pretty good too.
Really good.
Cass was just saying that to me, and then the next day, like, I was like, I can't even imagine myself having a meltdown. And then the next day, some fucking business shit went down that I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it's a never-ending exploration.
Yeah. Yeah.
But again, like I expected it, and I expected this time to be like crazy and hard for you to channel. So.
No, and you'll even give me warnings, and I'm like, I got this. I'm flying high these days, exclusively. All right, I am fucking high in the sky, apple pie, baby. And then you're like, yeah, it might get tough for a little bit, and I'm like, no. And then literally, just like it just fucking changes, and I can't imagine that other guy that was chill as fuck. Because all of a sudden, like, I feel like with, like, especially when it comes in the form of, like, a business challenge, like what we're going through, like, it just, it rips me back down to a realm I do not want to fucking be hanging out at.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
like,
yeah.
Talk about the 3D world. Like, it's just, like, money, resources, scarcity, you know? Like, are you going to work again? Are you going to be validated in your career? All this stuff is just, like, it pulls me down into those realms, and it brings to the surface like a scared little boy, you know, and it's so fucking wild to like witness that ride in myself.
Yeah. Well, and once Saturn leaves your second house of security and resources, it won't feel like everything has to come down to that all the time, you know, but life is like, feels like unwaveringly confrontational and harsh right now with Saturn for you and I and where it's at. You know, it's just like it's always coming back. To me, it's always coming back to constriction and like coldness and relating. I mean, like not being responsible enough and relating and stuff is sort of like how it's working out for me. But for you, it's in your second house of insecurity, security, you know.
What the
so
fuck?
Everything is coming back to that for you right now. The other thing that's going to happen this month, which I've been experiencing the past couple years, is a Sun and Neptune opposition, with Neptune being in Pisces and my Sun being in Virgo. And we're about to collectively have that for a second. And that's kind of wild because that's the organizing mind and the intellect in an opposing conversation to chaos itself. And so this is an interesting Virgo season that may feel a little bit less Virgoan in your ability to organize, because you're also going to be like staring at the element of chaos. And it does feel like we're kind of reaching up to this conversation in a way, you know, where we're trying to understand the areas of our life where we feel like less organized, you know, but also
it's literally my inner conversation right now.
Yeah.
What were you going to say? But also what?
But I think also through the season and through this opposition, and once Saturn moves into Pisces, we're going to understand like the superpowers of chaos. You know, like you're going to go past the illusions of the organizing mind of the 6th house, and you're going to jump into the 12th house, and which is it's the wisest way to look at things and understand like, leaving room for that and a more of a comfortability with that and the unknown is preparing us for this air world that we're moving into, leaving this 200 years of Earth sort of centric lifestyle and an air centric lifestyle where you do need to be more like that, you know, and more into like, okay, I have to like, it's not as stagnant and organized just as far as like the way that stuff is going, because it's going to be more changeable and shifty and
wow.
Yeah, so I think it's like, you're going to want to organize the season, but you're also going to have to like, flirt with the idea of what's beyond your organization, and also understand like you only exist because of all of the organization too. And the amount of people that are organizing around you, like I've been thinking about this recently too, is just so much, you know?
Me? Oh,
well, you do a lot of organizing, but just like whoever organized these molecules enough so that they,
what?
do you know what I mean?
I mean, I was looking at this pug this morning that my parents have, and I'm like, how is this thing possible? What the fuck?
Yeah. And this is just like how some aliens chose to organize us, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I can't escape that. Like, that's definitely what's happening. So, and I think we all have this power of the organizing mind, and we're all creating these new realities because we're organizers of chaos, but we have to understand there's no way to organize without that dipping into it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that is the feminine and the openness to everything.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
there's a limit to the masculine organizing mind.
No, it's
you know?
funny because like when I feel out of control, that's what I want to just control everything.
Yeah.
And here's the plan, and you're going to listen to me, and everyone's going to fucking behave in this way, and we're all going to do this, and and it's just like, what the fuck am I talking about? That's why this go around, I see myself wanting to do that. But I'm like, there's a reason shit's going down this way. It's hard for me to wrap my head around at first, but there's a reason, one thing doesn't happen and another thing does. There's a reason, and I don't really know what that is, but in my life, everything's always worked out. Like, why can't I just fucking remember that when I'm about to freak out? It's like forgetting, it's like the classic thing you say to somebody is like when they're having a bad trip, it's like, you took drugs. You know that, right? Like, you took drugs. It's like I forget that. Like, oh, I took form. What the fuck? Yeah. I'm fine. It's okay. This thing's a death sentence. What am I getting so uptight about?
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it's all just fucking games of attachment and releasing, and just then like I'll be really good and I'll surprise myself with my reaction or lack thereof to something, and then it'll come snapping back, and I'm like, whoa, who is that guy that just like bubbled up for a second?
Yeah. Well, you and I both have a fighting spirit, and I think this realm requires fighting, and I think like sometimes it's like hard to always place that spirit in this realm as well, because it's like not always appropriate.
It's barely ever.
Yeah.
I have two beautiful girlfriends that are so sweet to me. Like, who am I fighting with? What about? I make art. I have some money. It's okay.
Yeah.
What the fuck? So where do I take that fight?
Yeah. I mean, it's true, and you take it to your training.
Yeah, pretty much. And it's fools that challenge me in darts and golf and shit.
Yeah. And some people have even more of that, and they have to be even more intentional about where they're placing that energy, know. But it's super, super important. And this season, I will say, Mars in Gemini is the wisdom. Mars is the wisdom of separation. Like if we all just worshipped Venus and Mars didn't exist, there would be no human evolution. There would be no growth. There would be no spiritual growth. You need cutting and separating to be a part of the whole process. It's the other side of the knife. It's the handle or whatever. So Mars in Gemini has that wisdom that sometimes life is a duel. Sometimes you have to participate in it that way. Sometimes you have to weaponize words. You have a lot of that wisdom, and you use it through the Sagittarius, much higher philosophical values, to cut and form and shape things in better ways, right?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people don't have that natural energy in them to like say the unabashed thing, or we're like more shy-tongued. And during this season, it's going to be great for you guys who have that issue, because you're going to understand on a deeper level, like, oh, to be the hero, I actually have to be the villain sometimes. And by sometimes, I mean like a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And that's not everybody's role in this life, but it's a lot of people's.
Yeah.
And whether that's just like a small moment of uncomfortability with somebody you love and telling somebody like something that is going to be cutting, or whether it's like literally having to sever people out of your life during Virgo season, all of that's going to come up during cutting season. This is the season of shears and editing, and what do we want to get rid of?
Damn.
Energy. So yeah, I don't know why I guess, always just talking about what people need me to talk about, but fighting is an important spirit in this world, and it's an important thing that we need to embody sometimes. And I think it looks like a lot of different things, but duels are important, and it's kind of like the other beautiful side of relationship and why you can make each other better. And
do I need an enemy out there? I should have like an enemy out there.
You and I, no.
That would help.
I think so.
Be like, this motherfucker.
I think
and everything
so.
I do
Just
is just like, it's a fucking piece of shit.
Yes. Yeah. Well, because sometimes I think it's like also Like, yes, everything is working out in your favor, but yes, there's like different influences in the planet, and you literally want to fight. Like, you want to fight against the shit that's negative, and it's hard in
Oh,
those
no, I know.
moments to see like,
Yeah.
is it negative? Is it positive? You know, coming to this tense juncture.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I know.
Yeah, but you're right. It is always working out for the best reasons.
Yeah. If your highest intention is growth,
Absolutely.
everything is going to lead to your growth.
That's absolutely true.
Everything.
That's absolutely
That's what
true.
all the training's all about.
That's absolutely true.
Always be training.
Yeah, always be training.
Yep.
Always be training. Yeah, that's kind of a different way to say the stuff that I've been saying about performance, where it's like all good. Because like even if you
Yeah.
humiliate yourself or act like an idiot, you're still making other people feel better about themselves. So it's like all good. Like all
Yeah.
performance is good. It's like a trip, you know. It's like there's no
Yeah.
bad way to entertain people.
The difference is night and day from when I hated the Grateful Dead to when I loved them. I literally used to just put on that radio station in the car to be like, people like this? Like, I would sit there and be like, I cannot believe, like, look, listen to this. It's so fucked up. Like, they sound like shit. And then, like, a nice dose of acid and Live Dead, all of a sudden I'm like, oh, this is, yeah, why the fuck was I obsessed with 3-minute perfect little studio songs, you know?
I love that you brought up the Dead, because they're chaos magicians, and there's somebody that
Yeah.
understands this wisdom of the time of like, hey, yes, it's magic to organize. What's more magic is
Yeah.
if you throw chaos in there. And
Yeah.
it's true. It's
Yeah.
true.
They got
you
that
know?
feminine energy. I think that's why a lot of people like myself reject them at first.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like letting a mushroom into your life.
Mhm.
You know?
The openness to it, and could go anywhere, and it's scarier. And for
and you're going
men,
to change.
And you're going to change.
If you start listening to this music all the time, you're going to change. You're
Yeah.
tuning your frequency to something that fucking was very pure. Like,
Yeah.
very, very pure with
Yeah.
its intention.
Yeah.
That holds space while people trip.
Mhm.
That's how that band started. Like,
Mhm.
fucking, no wonder they're bigger now than they ever were. You know? It's so cool.
Oh, yeah. Super,
Yeah.
super cool. So, yeah, we're all learning to be chaos magicians.
Yeah. Should we let a little feminine chaos
We
into
should
our
let
lungs?
a little feminine chaos into our lungs.
Damn, man.
Yeah.
You're in Fuente.
Yeah.
Definitely.
We're also kind of coming up. This is kind of a reading if I'm just talking about the transits. What's a reading on a podcast? Like you guys want me to say look at somebody's chart? Because I just want to talk about what's going on a little
No, I think that you're reading the weather.
Okay.
You know?
As I do.
And you're dressed up for it.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
We have another transit that I have natally, which is Venus opposing Saturn, and we've been feeling this. And that's like love opposing reality or authority. It can be a little bit hard to deal with like love and relationship and coming together and feeling like authority is in opposition to that. But it's fleeting. It's only like going to last for another month. And then once Venus moves into Virgo, we'll get a much different vibe and not so much of an opposition, but that could also be a little bit gnarly in relating right now for people. So just be patient with each other. That's all I want to say.
It's pretty good. It's a good message.
Yeah.
It's very Jesus-like of you.
Yeah.
Just be patient with each other,
Yeah.
motherfuckers. Come on.
You know.
Please calm it down.
Yeah. Well, we have this, like, as you say, this conversation of the third dimension coming in so heavy with everybody in different areas of their life, and all the ways that it's constricting us and oppressing us. And when you have a Venus opposition to that, it feels like it's oppressing love or relating. And it's not really. It's just trying to get you to look at it from that perspective right now.
Yeah. Yeah. And all the fucking madness is when you don't want to look at it. That's, like I was just saying this to my dad, who's doing great, by the way. This is something interesting to talk about, old heads and mushrooms. Like, I keep mushrooms around for whatever, and I always am encouraging my dad to take them, but he rarely ever does. And then, I don't know, one day while we were in Ohio, I guess he just took a handful of them and went through it, and I came back, and he's like, he just seemed different. He was neutral. Normally it's either manic or really bad.
Yeah.
And he was just neutral, and I could just tell something was different, and I was like, "What's up?" And he's like, "I took those mushrooms while you were gone." I'm like, "Okay, what happened?" He's like, it was tough. He's like, I was beating myself up a lot. It was really tough. I was confused and whatever. That was 3-4 weeks ago. Even my mom was saying he's been different ever since. Just like the best version of himself, which is sharp, able to listen, not like seeking drugs or running outside to smoke every 2 seconds. And yeah, it's fucking really an amazing thing to bear witness to when somebody can kind of. He doesn't know, though. And this is what I was trying to explain to him. He was like, it was really tough. I said, it doesn't matter. You're so much better off for having gone through that. And I said, all it did was bring you back to the heart space, is where you seem like you're operating from now. And the tough time was the chasm that was created from when you strayed from that. And he was just like, whoa. And it wasn't even me saying that. It was really the mushroom kind of just like giving him a decoding, like Cliff's Notes of the trip for him. But yeah, that's what happens, and especially for men. And my mom understood that. I said, Mom, I don't think you would struggle as much as Dad does with the mushrooms. Like, I think, like she says, like, you're already there in a lot of ways. But there is that chasm. We do stray. We stray a long way, and traumas do it. And that is what trauma is. There's the traumatic event. But the straying from who you were and who you are is really, that's what trauma is. And that's what these things help you deal with, because it presents you with all of a sudden, like in the course of an hour, in the course of a few hours, you have online a whole version of yourself again. And you're like, how was I operating? How was I doing that? And if you're lucky, it'll present very specific ways how you're out of alignment. So now the new thing is, and this is so, it's almost fucking a small miracle. I come into your place just now and you're like, hey, I was in the nail salon the other day, which first time in how long?
Like 6 years.
Yeah. You're in the nail salon and they're playing NBC News. And I happen to be at my parents' house upstairs, where they're always blasting something, but they were blasting that. And we both saw the same report about how NYU just did a study that shows like in 82% of alcoholics, with a dose of mushrooms, you're good. And like, it's mind-boggling. Those are numbers no pharmaceutical could ever put up. And so with that, you know, now all the old heads are fucking like, they just need to see it in the Times or on NBC or something like that.
Yeah.
Now they're all like, hey, what's the deal? What's the deal? And I'm like, I don't know. I've been saying this for years. We've been saying the same thing. Like, I don't know. Maybe now's the time that some of them will take the plunge. And I don't think it's ever too late, especially with mushrooms. You just got to watch your dose.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, the feeling thing and the bad trip thing, like, it requires, revelation requires you to feel. Like, you can't get to revelation without feeling. Just like you said, you have to move through the heart space to have spiritual evolution.
Yes.
You know, and revelation, like, so if you, spiritual journey, all it is pain. Like, it's just pain. It's a pure painful journey. And I think we have all this toxic positivity in this realm of spirituality because that's the reality of it. Like, the reality of spirituality is just the revelation of your shadow. It's just dropping in and feeling all the ways that you haven't been aligned, you know? And that's why artists seem to change and change so much faster than other groups of people, is because they're constantly in revelation, because they're constantly in feeling. And when you're constantly dropped into feeling, you're like always in the motor of change, you know? And a lot of us, like, it's so easy with the airwaves and the way that our society is set up to just escape in the air, you know, and never drop down into the water. And yeah, I think of our society as like very like airy and earthy and yeah. So mushroom trips are uncomfortable and like innately sometimes, no matter what. And so, like, but that's how you know you're doing the right thing.
I mean,
or you're on the journey. You know
I feel like they're uncomfortable for, like, if you're being a little baby bitch. My dad is a baby bitch. Everything is, oh, God, oh, no, fuck, that's all. He calls me up, I'm driving, he's like, you in traffic? Like, he focuses on the negative, and he braces for the worst thing all the time, and that's going to result in a bad, at least first few hours of the trip. The come-up's going to be tough if you're that type of person. But I've found that the mushrooms don't challenge me as much when I go in, like, bring it on, baby. Just chew those motherfuckers for a half hour, Mike Tyson style. Just chew them until you're like tripping your balls off. And I'm inviting you into my life. I want this lesson. And it's like, it's all good.
Yeah.
Yeah, just lock into your breath. You're good.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah. And if you're more dropped into feeling, that's all it'll be. But sometimes, like, you know, if you've been manic,
Yeah.
and you've just been in this crazy headspace, yeah, you're gonna have to have that.
I had a rough one up in April at my parents' house. Remember that? You had to come in. You ended my rough trip. See, like, you know, like, it's funny.
And that was a moment, y'all, when I consciously was like, I'm gonna have to play the villain to be the hero right now. I was like, it's gonna be unpopular.
You were unpopular for 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And like, it was from when I was laying down, you were like, come on. And I'm like, what the fuck? Because Cass was doing the opposite. She was coddling me.
She
And
was
it makes
mad
it,
at me,
it makes
like-
it way worse.
No, I know, and I know, I know. And like, I felt her being, but again, I was like, I'm just gonna deal with her being mad at me because Sean's gonna have a better trip once he just gets out of this fucking room.
So
like,
for 30 seconds, I was like, damn, Mare's fucking harsh right now. This is crazy. I'm a little baby bitch. I need to be cared for. And then I stood up and I was like, oh, that was the best idea ever. And I swear to God, for like the next 2-3 hours, I was like, I'm the funniest person in the world. I was like, I was just, all my material was just fucking hitting. Yeah. Everybody was laughing their ass up. I went from nothing, just piece of shit laying on the bed, like, I'm the dumbest person in the world, to like, you're like, hey, stop it. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm fucking hilarious.
Yeah. Yeah.
Turned it around.
We need each other to say, hey, stop it, you know?
Yeah. It's I look forward to taking you to, like, and I know you're a little resistant to this, but I do look forward to taking you to, like, just the classic 20-person ayahuasca circle, sitting in the pitch black. There ain't no coddling each other or anything. You're just listening to me puke and fucking. I do look forward to it because it is hilarious when you're in that glowy afterglow of it, and you're like, damn, man, I just died 2,000 times, you know, like. But it's cool because, like, she'll come around, and it's like she knows when you're, like, dead, and, like, will hit you with this fucking branch and, like, or blow some weird fucking Florida water on you, whatever Florida water is. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. But I do look forward to doing that with you, and just, like, you know, separate but together, go in and just fucking just get served.
Yeah.
You got served, motherfucker. I do, especially as we move into these months, like September, October, November, I do start thinking about ayahuasca a little bit more.
I feel like I've abandoned her. I feel like we have a fractured relationship because she's been calling me and I haven't been picking up the phone. I'm serious. So, like, I'm nervous about my next time. I'm like, I feel like I've been.
Could be a little rough.
But yeah, I definitely need her.
You've been a bad girl.
I've been bad. I really have. Like, and I keep forgetting to microdose. Like, I've been so bad this year. I feel like I microdosed like 5 times. It's fucking September. I know. We keep. I'm for a while was very good about the mushroom microdoses. Very. I still didn't take my B12 today. I talked to you about it.
I know. You just got to do it.
It's been the last like 4 or 5 days, y'all. I can't. I'm telling you, I'm getting crushed by this energy. I was on top of everything in Leo season.
Yeah, you were in fuego.
I dropped all my balls in Virgo season. I showed up to a photo shoot with wet hair.
A wet nerd.
I was a wet nerd, and not like for my work, by the way. I'm not, obviously.
Yeah, you're fully. You're fucking. Shoots. You're back. You're doing tattoos.
Back in Satan's arms.
You're
baby.
doing readings, and you're doing live performances on Instagram.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm gonna do it tomorrow because we're gonna be partying.
We'll do it.
But
I'll get on there. I'll be in the background.
Every Saturday I am going to do a live where I just play different covers and like an original. But yeah, in the show, the astrology show.
Yeah, that's a big thing.
Which is a big thing that I'm doing for every couple of weeks. And I'm flirting with the idea of doing more content, which can't tell is just a distraction between the person that's like scared to just focus on music for a second, or if this is like actually good content that I should be making for doing like tarot readings during the week. But I'm still so much more confident as an astrologer than I am a tarot reader for some reason. But then I think about it, and I'm like, it's so stupid with the level that I'm feeling into everybody and everything that I'm in the way on this journey.
Use those cards. Weird. Pull those cards out.
Yeah.
Come on. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, you should definitely get that in the mix. But how do people find that? You might be shadow banned. I'm not sure.
My Listening to Spirit YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're on there on video playing the piano.
Yeah.
Doing.
I just improvise and.
You do the rising signs, so you're doing 12 videos every week.
Yeah, 12 videos every week, which I think they're going to be like 15 minutes now. Each.
What a fucking offering.
Yeah.
It's so dope.
It's very, very fun. And it's a container that I can stand behind me existing in because it makes me better at everything that I want to do. So that's
why I would say just keep
eternally motivating.
If you feel called to do more, do more things because, you know, naturally, like, the stuff that has staying power will have staying power and the other stuff will shed off. Like,
Yeah.
but I think, like I always say, like, the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. So, you know,
Yeah.
just try to approach it with that full gusto that you do with music, that you do with
Yeah.
tattooing, that you do with
Yeah.
putting together these sweet little looks.
You know, I love a look.
Yeah, definitely. You're bringing back Clueless for me. It really reminds me of the chick from Clueless.
Yeah.
Definitely 90s dream babe.
And
Like,
my nails, you know.
And
And I
that-
did pink toenails too. I was trying to go into that vibe.
You're a fucking dream girl. Like, I mean, I can't believe it. That's what Cass was just saying on the way down here. She's like, I'm looking at tasteful nudes of Mare. Like, do you realize how hot she is? I'm like, yeah, it's a problem. It gives me fucking imposter syndrome.
Oh my god.
I'm like, when's she gonna realize?
He's so sweet. I was just listening to somebody sing a really funny song about imposter syndrome, speaking of. It's got to be big and rampant in New York. I feel like more people talk to me about that than a lot of other things when I tattoo them.
This would be the fucking world epicenter of it.
You know?
I would think.
I had this, actually, so I don't know if I'm divulging too much. I know somebody that came here and was like a star of the Broadway show the first year that she came to New York. And that was like really hard for her to deal with. And then she hasn't really gotten, I think, a role since. But yeah, she basically showed up and was like the ingenue star of this big Broadway show. And
Yeah.
she did it the whole time. She was like probably one of the worst times of her life because every day she was just like,
The anxiety of it.
yeah,
like
feeling like she
stage
didn't
fright?
deserve it. And it's like deep rooted, you know, I think, it's deep rooted deserving stuff. I think a lot of times with imposter syndrome.
Yeah. It's weird. I think Joey and I talked about this a little bit on
Oh,
the
you
latest
did?
Boys Club. A little bit. Because
I don't remember you talking about it.
I feel like I've had this conversation lately, but it might have been you and I on the phone.
It may have been.
Which, goddamn, those are fucking.
I know, our phone calls.
Jesus Christ.
When you let me talk to you, you're not a very phone-loving person.
Yeah. I'm not that good with these phones.
You like to be present with people.
Yeah. But I feel like I don't have imposter syndrome, like, for the important things
Yeah.
at all. You
Yeah.
know, I can really step into, like, I'm the director of this thing. Of course, I'm in a fucking gigantic sprawling boardroom in Toronto with 50 ad agency people around and I'm leading this meeting. Of course, like, if I had the slightest doubt,
Yeah.
you know, I wouldn't be able to just get high and go do that.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
or pull these jobs off or whatever, or even have the audacity to do this.
No, you
know?
also have a life setup that requires like an invincible sort of spirit to things.
Yeah.
And if you're not there, you can't show up to your jobs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I can't even consider letting any kind of self-doubt in.
If director doubts on set, you're all fucked. So
Yeah. Apparently that's a big thing too. Because a
I'm
lot of the crews I work with, they're like, yo, this is a dream. I'm like, what are you used to? And they're like, oh, fucking indecision.
Yeah.
Just fucking, that's it.
Which I feel like for your role more than like any other role is like, there's no room for that.
No. So I don't get it when it comes to that stuff, you know?
Yeah.
Even the podcast, it's just like, whatever. Sometimes with the community stuff, I get a little like, because I don't know what to do.
Right.
Really. I don't know what to do. So I get a little, but I wouldn't call it imposter syndrome. I'm like, I understand. Like, I get it. I'm pretty cool. And it is not about me. So like, what? I don't know. I can't be a poser. It's like, I'm just being myself. But with you, sometimes, you know what I mean? Like, that's where the self-doubt, like, that's whatever, like, the undeserving, like, the, you know, because you came into our life, like, how you are right now. Like, you were being yourself, and you were very bright, and it was, like, intimidating. It was very intimidating. Yeah, for sure. So there's always been a tinge of that. I guess it has to express itself some way in my life, and it's definitely in that. And
Yeah. You like a challenge.
yeah, definitely. And you know, I think that's how I get socially too. I think when we're out there socializing, I'm not like the guy people might think I am from the podcast. Like if there's more than like 4 or 5 people around, I'm like probably one of the quieter energies, you know.
Yeah. Vocally, maybe.
Vocally, but I'm playing the tunes and passing the joints.
Yeah. And you're energetically holding down a lot of space
Yeah.
that people put on you.
Yeah.
You know, like, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I don't know. I don't know if it's just because you hold that space as a director. And so it's like you just carry that with you and you carry that archetype. And so people expect a lot energetically from you too.
Mm.
But I know that's why you're quiet in social situations as well. So
I don't want to fuck up anyone's.
yeah, because you know you're impactful as
yeah,
well.
that's basically what it is. Not to even try to sound conceited, but like some of the groups we're in, I'm like, oh, like,
Yeah.
I get it. If I express anything, it's turning this whole ship in that direction, and so I'm gonna be a little bit more choosy and
Yeah.
just try to be like flowy and just chilling.
Yeah.
You know, that's what I'm gonna try to do this weekend.
Yeah.
It's surreal to come down here and like meet up with all of our friends, and I'm not like hosting or coordinating or anything. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Well, you have this North Node, your Destiny in Leo, and your South Node in Aquarius, and you're so Aquarian with, I feel like the way that you direct and director in general is kind of an Aquarian position. But I feel like me as a person and a personality in your life, just like I said, your Sag is like bringing me towards my Destiny and my North Node is bringing in that Leo energy of like performance and like play and
Yeah.
I feel like that with Lacey too, like for just some people in my life where I'm like, I'm the Leo in their life that's getting them to understand like actually being in the center of attention is like not a selfish thing and it's very sacrificial. And it's for the community. And sometimes that's what life asks of you. And so I feel like that's like part of our dynamic too, is me like pushing this more that you're not comfortable with. Like you don't want to be the center of attention and stuff, but you kind of are. So
No.
I feel like I'm here just trying to help you navigate like that too, like attention and stuff. You know?
Totally. I mean, it's the hesitation to not have like a lot more community gatherings and space camps because I'm like, do I have to do something? Is, like, do they like need that? And it always works out. Yeah.
I mean, that was what gave me a fucking the craziest come of my life at that space camp is that understanding like attention and pressure and being like, ugh, I'm a puddle. So
yeah.
I really need to get over this like expectation of me being anybody for anybody because I felt like I was really in a situation I'd put myself in where I had to be somebody for people. And at the time I had to be dead.
I know.
So it felt very like,
I feel like I, on that trip, like this time last year.
Yeah.
You know, and we took an unknown amount of
20 at that.
very strong acid, very like the hardest either one of us has ever tripped.
Yeah. And I've tripped hard.
And you know, I was able to rally because I saw you were having a hard time, and I was like, oh, purpose, something to push off of. Okay, great, this is something to work with because before that, everybody's just puddled. Yeah. And we're like, whatever. And I think that the reason I didn't struggle with the same thing as you is because I had already done a space camp, and I went in knowing I'm useless to these people, at least for 3-4 hours after I take this. Like, I am not even going to try to show my face or be a part of anything or whatever. And some little part of you, everything was getting stripped away. And then some little part of you was like, we have an obligation here. And you're just fucking dying.
It was giving me so much anxiety. Yeah. It was like, what the fuck? And that
was a crazy, it was a really crazy moment. You're like, you just looked at me. It was just me and you. And you're like, I can't. I need a parachute. I'm out. And I was like, all right, I'll go. And I think I got you like a Xanax. And then you were fine. And I was like, cool.
My logic was, if I do this, I'll be able to show up for them. And then as I had it, I was like,
somebody has to come down off this. Nobody on the whole place was.
Yeah, no. And then I had to think about it more. And I was like, but do I want to be that present? I was like, no. Like in this moment, I will forever regret not fully, like I'm already dead. And the reality is they didn't need me. Like they were enjoying themselves, and I had to like digest that and like take a second to be like, they're fucking taking acid for the first time on a beautiful property in a rainstorm. They have no thoughts of Mare, obviously. You know what I mean? Like,
they're worried about themselves.
Yeah. And then it felt like I was just over the hurdle, and I was like, cool, I can have fun, and I can handle anything, because it started to be about me again, and I can handle that.
You turned it around so much that I had sworn you took the fucking parachute, and you were like, you revealed like an hour later, you're like, no. I'm like, whoa, that was a 180. You just were like, all right, I'm turning off whatever that was, whatever that fucking realm was that you were hanging out in.
Yeah.
And it helped too to get away from people for a second. Like, so if anyone's ever having a moment like this.
Oh yeah.
And you can't stay in your body. Like that was what was happening to you.
Yeah. And the shower is always my place when I'm dying on drugs, because the baptism is real and the water is very helpful. But yeah, I was totally out of my body, like jumping into other people's bodies in the shower. And again, like I take acid for the, like I've had that experience and it was super scary, still hard for me to integrate, but I take acid to have those experiences. But this time it wasn't just like, oh, it's Mare having an experience. It's like, oh, Mare, you're not in your body and like you probably need to be there because there's like 50 people
Yeah. So
around
weird.
you to entertain or whatever.
Yeah.
And, you know, so it created this huge anxiety.
Yeah.
Um,
It was good for us to just, I mean, two things. One, just try to get away, maybe find a good homie and
Yeah.
get away, catch your breath, and put on Grateful Dead.
and put on the
just,
Grateful
just
Dead.
listen.
And you
just
told
listen.
me to listen to Jerry and listen to my breath. And
Yeah,
yeah, we
that's
just
all.
turned it around.
That's all. You
Yeah.
quickly turned it around, but man, what a wild. I haven't tripped
Yeah.
that hard since.
Yeah.
Pretty close. The 2CB was edging on like
2CB is really wild.
that like the edge of like, fuck, what am I? Who am I?
But I think it's also just doing a drug for the first
Yeah.
time is just
Yeah.
a super freaky, talk about trippy experience. The whole time you're like, is this it? Am I
on
getting
the other
higher?
side of
Am
it
I on
yet?
the other side of it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got a whole nother element to it. So I'm excited to do it for the second time with less of that
Yeah.
confused energy about
Embrace the nexus.
embrace the nexus part. Yeah, no, that experience was wild, and people have been talking to me more about space camp, so it's been more in my imaginal realm of, you know, how it will unfold next. And yeah.
Yeah. I think like those moments, like what you went through and everything, because you hear a lot in like the fucking pseudo spiritual psychedelic world. Like everyone talks about ego death, like that's something that you want to achieve, and like that's a pretty harsh fucking thing to do to yourself. It really is. And I don't know if it's necessary. Maybe a few times, like, you know, it might be nice to totally transcend and experience that, but I think really the more experience I gain, the more I'm like, what's really better is ego training and ego strength. And it's like Mowgli. Like if Mowgli was untrained, he would be a nemesis.
Yeah.
He would be fucking a nuisance in people's lives
Yeah.
and your life. But since he's trained, he's your biggest protector, your best friend, the most loyal advocate you could have. You can do that with your ego. It is kind of like a wild puppy.
No, but you're totally right. I've been thinking about this a lot recently. Like to be happy in the human experience, you have to have an ego, and you have to be wrapped up in your ego, and it's bullshit in the dramas of humans, because if you like take it from somebody that probably has died too many times within a singular body because of drugs and other things. And like, it's hard for me to live the human experience, and it only gets harder the more spiritual experiences I have. You know, I want to say it gets easier because I am connected in another realm. And don't get me wrong, I'm less fearful than like everybody I know about, you know, death and these other things, but it doesn't make this realm easier. And this realm is where you are. And I've definitely been thinking about that a lot recently. Like I've been having more fun because I'm a character in this game, and all I can do is have fun playing out these dramas, because that's what you came here to do.
Yeah.
You know, and this journey of like, yeah, this is like it's going to bring you misery and depression, and I'm like a perfect case study for it. You know, it
Yeah.
will let nihilism seep into you, and like,
Yeah.
yeah.
I've been doing like since we've been like in the few little times I've spent at my parents since we moved my stuff up there, they have a cemetery across the street from them, and I do these like death meditations every day. So in the morning I'll get up and I'll just get those miles out in the heat of the day, and then when it's nice out, I just go and I walk for an hour just wind through this cemetery. And it's crazy because this is a cemetery where I grew up, so like kids I went to school with, kids that are younger than me, I'm seeing their graves. I'm seeing my grandparents' graves. I'm seeing my friends' grandparents, people from the 1800s, and just like this meditation on what life is. And again, like raw dogging it. No earbuds, no fucking razzle dazzle, nothing like that. Just listen to your breath, walk. And when you see a name that sticks out to you, and a lot of them do, just kind of meditate on that for a second and what their life was. And you see how long people live and how short this experience can be. And it's a really fucking trippy thing to do a nightly walk through a cemetery that's that long, and just quieting it down for the day and like transitioning into the evening and just contemplating death. I think it's a thing that we probably avoid at all costs. But having the cemetery near me, I'm like, it's really present. And my sister's in that cemetery, so I go and visit her too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that brings like some alienhood to your wisdom and your experience of like, oh, the temporariness of the human experience, and
Yeah.
being able to grieve and maybe see past that and see bigger timelines past the one that seems impermanent and stuff.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I like, and then I think the human element of caring is like, yeah, it's the only thing that makes this whole thing fun. And the more
Mm-hmm.
that you like start to look at life that way, and that we're all just like choosing these different characters to play, and it can just be more, yeah, more of the levity, like Leo wisdom, more of that. Just have
Yeah.
fun,
Yeah.
have fun with it.
It's like levity and trust.
Trust, yeah.
Really, levity, trust, and presence equals happiness.
Yeah.
Like that's like a really trusting that the universe has you.
Yeah.
Being present enough to laugh at things, and knowing that the universe has us all, and that we're here to experience the very thing we're experiencing in that moment. It's funny. It's hilarious. It's such a crazy fucking challenge we take on when we take form. It's such a wild thing to do a dance as a human. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard.
And when you look at people's charts, you realize too, this point of destiny, like the North Node, where supposedly your spiritual growth happens, is always not the energy that you embody. And so it's weird. You kind of start to understand, like, you come maybe to use what you're good at, but really to leave it. Like, you come to be the person you're not, which is death, right? Like, you sort of come to run out whoever you were, and run out the temporary nature of that pattern that you came in that very specific moment in time,
Wow.
Yeah, but it's just so interesting to me recently to be looking like, oh, this person has, like, I'll use myself as an example, like all of this Gemini energy, and their life is asking them to be a Sagittarius, and that's everybody's chart is asking you to leave who you are in this interesting way.
What's mine?
So you already embody more Aquarius energy, and it's asking you to move more towards Leo.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Which that's like, to me, that's what I reject the most. I'm like, that's
Yeah.
fucking poser.
Yeah,
Fucking.
but it's seeping into your life whether you want it or not with this podcast, and you're taking up more of that position.
Yeah, totally.
So.
No, it's so weird too, because it's like I've for the amount of success that I've experienced, I don't know. I don't necessarily like carry that as any kind of like proud thing. Even in those moments, it's always just been like, okay, let's do the next thing. Let's do the next thing. Like I don't want to get I don't want to pig out on this, just reaching the peak of something that I was clearly headed towards. I don't want to pig out on that feeling too much or get too high on it. And to me, that's more of like rejecting that, that like it's like look what everything is calling on you to do, and you're like, I kind of am always like, no, turning my back on it or shrink in that moment.
Yeah, because it's not the energy you embody, so it's the thing you're most uncomfortable with. And that's what's so interesting to me. It's like life is just asking you to go towards the thing you're most afraid of, and that's how the most spiritual growth will happen. But it will also present itself in your life like it is for you, as the uncomfortable thing that's calling you. But it is always the uncomfortable thing.
Well, but what helps too is like coming across beings like Alex and Allison Gray.
Yeah.
And like even though they do this really Leo, like outward, like very loud performative thing, it's like there's something about them that's like so authentic, and I see myself in them. I see Cass and I in them, and like the way we're trying to build things.
Totally.
But like, and I'm jealous in a way. Like they get up there and they can lead a sermon, really, pretty much, and just come off the dome and just fucking right in front of people, just tap into flow and just bring back the most beautiful words and inspiration about art and spirituality. And it's so cool. So I come across a being like that, and I'm like, I could do that. They're much older, so I'm like, okay, I got time. I can morph. I think I could get there and gain my confidence and my wisdom and know how to bring those things online when I have to.
Yeah, I think understanding that, again, like the ego is important, like the performance of an archetype representing time, and like the pushing of it is important.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And you've been so wise in this like background picture way that it's harder for your spirit to understand, like, oh, but all of those characters that were important in those moments, like you have to be one of them too. For people to reflect on,
Yeah, fuck.
And you have to be solar too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, people got their solar panels out.
But being a Leo, if you don't have a lot of that energy naturally, like it means judgment. When you put yourself out there, it means you're being judged, and you are going to get
That's
cut
what I
down
can't
and
handle.
you-
Yeah, that's the crux of my like fuck this. I'm not even playing in that arena. Like you want to judge me, that's on you, because I'm not even trying to offer anything to be judged.
Yeah,
You know?
but that's where my like clown wisdom comes in, where it's like either way you're entertaining them.
Yeah, yeah,
You know,
definitely,
like they're getting off on the judgment.
totally.
You're still doing it for them.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. The least
So-
entertaining thing would me being like a fully embodied version, fully enlightened, it'd be I would be the most boring. I think a lot of podcasts out there try to come off like that. like they know what the fuck's going on, or
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they really want to lean into that part of themselves, and I'm like, I want the opposite.
See, but Leo doesn't have to be righteous, and like Leo is playful and it is goofy, and it doesn't have to be self-important.
Oh,
and I
yeah,
think
no, I know
you're, like with your art, it's like you're already doing that. You're
Yeah.
carving out new space and
Yeah.
of of this whole realm and a different way of holding it. That isn't this like look at me and how smart I am, but it's still like you can look at me and playing the fool.
Oh
right?
yeah.
That's all of our thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm much more comfortable with that. I think it's much
Yeah.
more relatable.
It's much more relatable. Yeah. And I think it's much more true to performance.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what performers are doing. Sometimes we're in awe and we're worshiping wisdom and stuff, but often just playing the fool.
Everybody plays the fool
Everybody
sometime.
plays the fool. Because you have to play the fool to be emotional, and you have to play the fool to be in it and stuff, too, because it takes a certain level of vulnerability to... With performance, you have to be in it, in the emotion, Not like...
Turn that one on.
Okay, I'll turn this one on, too. Yeah, and you guys both have your North Node in your 8th house, so that's why your life paths flow so beautifully together. So you're both also leaving a life of like security and Taurian comforts and going towards like a more transcendent, not only like the use of other people's resources, but it's like really deep energy exchanges and, looking at life in a more scorpionic way.
Which is what?
Life isn't about like security. It's about these like deep experiences of exchange.
Yeah, that definitely resonates.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's both of you guys are leaving that and leaving it in different ways, obviously, because your charts are different, but you're both leaving and that's what part of this transit is trying to get you to do too, is let go of this second house energy of like needing these things to feel valuable and comfortable.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Shit, man.
Yeah. And I don't, even though my North Node's in Sag, it's in the house of Leo in the 5th house. So I do share elements of like part of my life is to also step into that role that hasn't necessarily been super comfortable for me. Because even when I was a dancer, I got right into choreography right away and like would prefer choreographing for other people,
Yeah.
And then it's become more of like, oh, okay, I guess I'm going to do the thing and I'm going to be the...
Yeah.
Even going from a dancer to like singing, like I had a period of being like, I want to make the music I'm dancing to. It feels like part of that evolution.
Totally. I mean, when I play guitar, like everyone always says, and any teacher I've had is like, just learn the songs you love. Like that's the best way. And I'm like, yeah, but I found this like weird. I like playing this thing I made up, and I like,
Yeah, totally.
I would much prefer to fuck around with.
And this is another great example of like the magic of chaos. When I first started dancing, you get into choreography, and then you stay in that realm long enough and you see all of the different expressions and you understand like, okay, choreography is really cool and magical. It's like a way more magical is somebody dropping into flow.
Oh yeah.
With dance. And
God.
that's chaos magic. That's beyond organization. That's tapping into everything. And so that was my first experience of it. And then I got really into like just that train of thought.
Yeah.
And it's kind of with music getting more of that way. Because again, I started like very conceptual and organized with my Virgo brain, and I'm getting more flowy about it. And like repetition seems so oppressive to me now. So yeah, I'm still inviting flow in a million different ways and the chaos in.
It was crazy when we went and saw Fish. We talked about it a little bit. We talked about it in depth on Boys Club on the Patreon. But it's a band that has to get in a flow. Like, there's no repetition. There's like these crazy fucking songs, like crazy.
Yeah.
And the dancing, I've never seen anything like it. Like the just fucking freak dancing, crazy flow, and people that are probably peaking on a lot of psychedelics.
Oh yeah.
It's such a crazy energy to be around.
Yeah, and the psychedelics, it's like, well, how does that make you better? But somehow it like allows you to be more open to the chaos or something.
Yeah.
Because those are the most magical times I've had dancing too. Is like on a lot of drugs. It just, I guess, it gets you out of your own way. And
Oh yeah, it tames the black dog.
lets you let it happen.
At least for a temporary moment, that black dog is just tame. It's just fucking laying there at your side, just saying, "Have fun, whatever. I got you."
Yeah. Totally.
Damn, Mare Bear, you're fucking goddamn pot of gold at the end of the rainbow for this fucking Irish leprechaun. Yeah, look at this. How can people, we'll put all the links in the description for your music and to book a reading with you.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll put some links in the description.
And a link to your new channel and show.
Yes. To
Yeah.
the YouTube channel. Yeah.
Yeah. And if you want to be a part of my world,
Yeah.
patreon.com/churchofchill. You could hear mine and Joey's secret podcast,
It's
Boys Club. It's great, right?
I secretly, not so secretly listen to it.
Yeah, no, it's cool. I couldn't, there would be no shit I could talk about you. There's nothing, that's not what Boys Club is for.
Yeah.
You could see what Boys Club's all about. It's sacred space to be like just ridiculous clowns. And I don't realize how much I'm not being a ridiculous clown till I get around my boys.
Yeah, especially
know?
Joey.
Yeah, especially Joey.
Joey sets a standard for clownship that many of us just pretend to attain in a lifetime,
like, come on. Like, holy fuck.
Fucking Joey.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's Clown Town on there. Patreon.com/churchofchill. Really do appreciate when
It's
new
so
people
fun.
join up and join the Discord and add their voice and
Yeah.
cool little recommendations to things. And then we
Yes.
become friends. It's
Yeah.
like, it's happening quick these days.
It
Like,
does.
someone joins the Patreon, they're in the Discord, and next thing you know, we're hanging out. And
Yeah.
it's really fucking cool.
Yeah.
So, join us. Thank you, Mare.
Thanks, John.
See you next time. Peace, love, and magic.